Josh. Hit it.
So we're here on Never Broke Again with David Meltzer. David, thanks for hopping on, man, where you're going to share strategies on if your bank account went to zero right now. Someone hacks your bank account right now. It's at zero. What skills does David know that he can get it all back, plus a little bit of interest on top of it? So thanks for coming on. I'm here with Andrew, and we are going to talk about all that. So, David, bank account goes to zero. What are we doing? Where do we get at?
Yeah, first of all, unfortunately, I'm an expert at this because I'm probably one of the few people who has lost everything. I lost over $100 million years ago. So I know what it's like, and I know exactly what I would do because I've done it and I've made it back. And so what I did and what I would do is look within myself to the skills that I have, the knowledge of what and who I have, and the desire that I had, because the skills and knowledge only determine my basement. It's the desire that determines my potential or my ceiling. And then I would align my skills, my knowledge, and my desire, the what and who, with what's doing well today. And the way that I would find out what's doing well today is I'd actually look at the stock market and I'd look to see what companies, industries, careers, and jobs are doing well today. I then would look to see what's stable. I'd look again at the stock market and see what's stable, what has not moved in the last 6 years, and look at the jobs, industries, careers that are stable. And then finally, I would look at the lottery tickets, what I think would be doing well. I then would align that with the skills, knowledge, and desire that I had. I'd also do a self-inventory of my timing and risk tolerance, which is something that I learned through the $100 million of dummy tax that I paid in losing everything and going broke. But I would know my timing and risk tolerance also overlapping synergistically and aligned with the desire, the knowledge and skills, aligned with what's doing well, what's stable, and what I think is going to do well. Then I would develop a plan with what is important to me personally, experientially, giving wise, production wise, and receiving wise. And after I determined that what, I would then move on to the who. Who can I help with what I want? Because that's the fastest way to get what you want, is to help others. And who can help me get what I want? Then and only then, after all of that analysis of looking within, knowing I have control of my mindset, my heart set, and my handset, would I even address the how? And the how, I would utilize the lens of productivity, of how much value I provide, a lens of accessibility, which is a duality or a bifocal lens, one of how can I be accessible to as many people as I can, especially today, because the communities, the scale, scope, and size of the communities are so large, but also how can I access what I want, to live in radical humility, to ask for help, to know what I want to receive. And then most importantly, aligned with that control that I talked previously about, the mindset, heart set, and handset, I'd use a lens of gratitude. Gratitude being the only common denominator of happiness. Happiness being my ultimate objective. The ability to make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun is derived from that happiness. Happiness is the common gratitude being the only common denominator of happiness. Being grateful, finding the light, the love, and the lessons in the how. And then I would prioritize, according to all of those different facets, what to do now. And understanding only if you go through that analysis will you ever determine what's important to you. You'll always be concerned by emotions and urgency. If you don't utilize this technique, you'll never be able to prioritize effectively. Prioritization is the antidote to overwhelmness that comes with going broke. Prioritization is also the antidote to procrastination. Take it from someone who's lost everything. It's very easy to feel overwhelmed and procrastinate when you're starting from nothing. So prioritization is a key, because if you know your what, your who, your how, and your now, you can apply your why. You'll know that you're already happy, healthy, wealthy, and worthy. You'll just start getting better at figuring out what you're doing to interfere with it. Probably no one's ever given you that extensive of an answer, but I'll tell you, very few people have lost over $100 million and had to make it back.
That is a big number. So you lost it. I've heard on other podcasts or whatnot, it was in '08 during the crash
Yeah.
in real estate. It was all tied up in some real estate.
Well,
So
it was tied, but my liquidity was tied up in a bunch of different things. The majority of it in real estate. So but it was the liquidity that cost me to lose everything.
what does that mean? What is liquidity? What is that?
Having cash on hand. So not asking for help, thinking I knew everything because I had from 9 months out of law school. Literally kept winning, whether it was being a millionaire 9 months out of law school to a multi-millionaire when I'm running Samsung's phone division to being a multi-millionaire with Access running Leigh Steinberg Sports Entertainment, the most notable sports agency in the world. I had a great arrogance about me that I thought I actually knew what I was doing. And so I thought that the equity I had and the investments that I made were more liquid than they were. So when I went to get into a lawsuit and let my ego get in my way and need more cash because I was being drained at an accelerated rate to protect my ego with a need to be right. I went to my private bank to borrow money. And when you own 33 houses, a ski mountain, a golf course, multiple investments in multiple businesses, and your bank tells you, yeah, you got about 40 million, but we're not going to let you borrow against it. It becomes a real issue real fast. And as everybody knows about needing money, nobody wants to give you money when you need it. They'll throw it at you when you don't need it. But I quickly needed money, liquidity. And although most of my investments were extremely prudent, were extremely good, and would have resulted in over $1 billion today, I just didn't have the liquidity or the financial literacy in order to effectuate the plan that I thought I had because of arrogance and ego.
So what is that like? In layman's terms, is that like you were over leveraged? Is that?
Well, I really wasn't over leveraged. So I was under knowledge, and let me explain the specifics.
Okay.
I think it helps people. It's a great question. So, you're sitting on all this real estate that's doing well. It isn't like I bought into the upside of it. I bought before the raise in the cash. So I was always safe. I built my golf course for 12 million. It was worth 120 million. I had some great wealth. My problem was that I thought that I could borrow money against the assets that I had, even though they were doing well. And I had no idea that banks, even if you qualified, could tell you, no, we're not going to let you borrow money because we are going under. We are worried about the assets that we have, and go somewhere else. I also, through arrogance, because I thought I had more cash than I had, I was very frivolous in the lawsuit that I had by overextending myself liquidity wise by paying for lawyers when I easily, if I thought I was at risk, could have just settled out of the lawsuit instead of not only paying millions and millions of dollars to the lawyers, but end up in a malpractice lawsuit against my own lawyers because they end up getting a judgment against me. And I end up, even in bankruptcy, winning that judgment. They try to buy it out. And I had a chance. This is what's interesting. When I went bankrupt, I didn't really owe anybody anything. I had to just clean up the mess. Well, I had this malpractice lawsuit worth millions and millions and millions of dollars. They actually asked me if I wanted to buy the judgment, and I could have easily avoided bankruptcy, but it was the emotional side of losing everything that I wanted to start over. I wanted to redo. I wanted to start over. I wanted to redo. It wasn't about money. Once I said, right, I had the skills and knowledge on how to make money, and I had the desire, always have had, that most people don't have. And when I say that, I mean, I'm probably one of the most consistent and persistent people that you'll ever meet. I'm like a consistent mule. Every single day I go the extra mile. Most people can't do that. And regardless of my skills and knowledge, that is a superpower when it comes to being successful, when it comes to going broke and getting it all back. But when you combine this idea that I can, spend my money on this bullshit and I can always borrow against what I have, and both of those things end up to be bad decisions that easily could have been avoided. This was the formula to losing everything, because I had a big, I hate the word, but I had a big economy to support, and it doesn't take but a few months to get underneath that economy if you have given away millions in cash thinking you're going to win more cash, and two, thinking that you had the security of 40 million at your hands. That, it's always that one little thing, that one assumption that can screw you. And my assumption was I had 40 million that I could borrow against any time, that I literally could go in one day, take on a line, and they closed my line.
So you had 40 million cash in
liquidity. I had 40 million in liquidity. So what I did is I ran a line of credit against the assets that I had with a private bank. So I was pre-approved on a line, which is different than having cash, right? I thought I was smart by having the line and letting my assets grow, where you wouldn't do it. And look, there's banks that do that today, right? Like Celsius Network with your crypto. You could put your Bitcoin, if you're afraid of losing the Bitcoin instead of selling it, you can put your Bitcoin in Celsius Bank and they'll let you borrow against the Bitcoin so you can get the upside of the Bitcoin. I was doing the same thing with my investments in real estate. The thing I didn't know, because I didn't ask for help, I didn't have mentorship, I thought I knew what I didn't know, is I had no idea that a bank could tell me no after they had already, approved me for credit, that they could, there's, a second approval. And that killed me because my liquidity went out from under me and I just wasn't diligent in learning.
What do you think the difference between being broke, David, like bank account going to zero, and being broken is?
Well, broken is what we all are. And so obviously broke is when you're out of money, to me, right? That's very simple. There's an object of energy that's called a currency. It's called money, an object of energy that we put into the flow to get what you want. And when you don't have any of it, you're economically broke. But broken is, the interference between you and the abundance that is available. So someone that's broken would have statistically far less of a chance of making back their money. So anyone that's broke can make their money back. And in fact, the average entrepreneur, average millionaire in America has gone bankrupt at least twice. So they know what broke is, but they're certainly less broken than most people, because people who are broken, they are in their own way. See, they try to get rich, they try to get healthy, get happy, and get worthy, where people that are less broken realize, I'm happy, healthy, wealthy, and worthy. I just got to figure out what I'm doing to interfere with it. And I figured out what I was doing to interfere with my wealth and actually my health, which then related to my worthiness, which then related to my happiness. So by fixing some of the brokenness, which I'm still broken, and so are you because you're human, I have done that by shifting a paradigm of perspective of looking to see what I'm doing to break myself from that which is all-knowing, all-powerful, omniscient, this thing that's much bigger than me, that actually loves me more than I love my own kids or my mom loves me. So being broke is easy. Being broken is a challenge.
Right.
I've heard elsewhere you give your mom 1 minute a day, and you
Minimum.
give your kid, you got, what's that?
Minimum.
Okay, minimum 1 minute a day. So okay, and then your kids, how much time?
I give my 3 teenage daughters a minimum of 2 minutes a day, every single day, 7 days a week. I give my son, who's 11, a minimum of 30 minutes a day. And I give my wife a minimum of 30 minutes a day. The minimum 1 minute for my mom is very, very strategic. It's to tell her 4 things. I tell my mom every day, I'm happy, I'm healthy, I love her and appreciate her. By giving her that security, I have cleared what causes so many people strife, distress, interference between them and their parents, because they get caught up into false objectives or false initiatives of parents wanting you to be, a doctor, a lawyer, or a failure. When it gets down to the core of being a parent, if you can rest assured, if you can give them the security that you're happy, healthy, wealthy, and worthy, it's easy, man. Your relationship's solid.
If we asked your mom what your job was, what would she say?
I have no clue. She'd say, ask him. See, so let me just tell you this. I got out of law school and sold legal research online. My mom told me the internet was going to be a fad, that I had to be a real lawyer. My mom made me put Esquire. I took the bar because my mom made me take the bar, even though I didn't need to take the bar for my job. My mom made me put Esquire on my business card, and she told people literally for 5 years that I was a corporate lawyer. I was an internet sales guy. And she told all of her friends, I'd come into parties, people like, oh yeah, he's the big corporate lawyer for that publishing company in Minnesota. I was like, no, I sell internet. I'm legal research. Like, who told you I'm a corporate lawyer? Oh, your mom. I'm like, oh, okay, I get it.
So you were partners with Leigh Steinberg.
I was partnered with Leigh Steinberg, and then Warren Moon was a partner of mine as well, the Hall of Fame quarterback, who we actually spun off a sports marketing company, a global sports marketing company, for over 12 years.
Is that still active?
It is. I stepped down right before COVID in December as CEO of Sports One Marketing, which I was the co-founder of with Warren Moon. And I'm not sure in what capacity, because the business itself revolved around sporting events. And so by March, there was no Super Bowl, Pro Bowl, Masters, Kentucky Derby, Breeders' Cup, ESPYs, Emmys, Oscars, or Grammys. I had perfect timing for once. And when I stepped down, and it was always for him, he was not the operator of the business, so it wasn't a big deal to him. It was me inheriting a bunch of employees to move over to focus in on my brand and my efforts.
How was COVID for you? We're kind of still in it.
Amazing. COVID's I don't discount people's losses, because I lost my uncle in COVID. But as a business person, as far as growth goes, as far as enjoying the consistent, persistent pursuit of my potential, the things that I learned from losing everything were so applicable to when COVID hit. The same illustrations that I gave you of taking control of my mindset, my heart set, and my handset, of seeing what's doing well, what's stable, and what's going to be doing well. There's never been more opportunity ever in my career than now, or even 2 years ago. And it seemed like a complete separation of thirds. A third of the people that had the right mindset, heart set, and handset are killing it. A third of the people that had a stable mindset, handset, and heart set stayed the same. And a third of the people who are victims that look into what's missing, what they don't have, what they don't want, what other people want for them, are getting destroyed.
What did you do during COVID differently?
So what I did was lean in to the skills, knowledge, and desire that were aligned with what was doing well. So for me, coaching, personal development became a really big thing. Content, building a community, became easier than ever. The attention that I could get for my podcast, TV shows, for my live Zooms, all the different things I was doing, it all of a sudden became easier than ever to build a community and to get the exposure and awareness of the dummy tax that I paid, the situational knowledge that I have, the wisdom that I've acquired over the years. And the marketplace for personal development and growth was expanding and accelerating, partly because of Zoom. And then also I leaned into the virtual aspects of speaking. I had a very big public speaking career, and I was one of the first people that either had the chutzpah, the nuts, or the foresight to charge people to speak virtually. And I will honestly say I make more money virtually speaking than I did before COVID walking on. That's how big the brand has grown. And now I make double what I used to make in person around the world, speaking in person. And it's doubled or tripled my revenue in multiple aspects of being a speaker, an author, an entrepreneur.
So what do you charge for speaking engagements?
So there's two prices that people should know, and I'm going to give mine. There's perceived value, which is the one that's on my website, which I do get, especially internationally, is $100,000. So $100,000 to speak in person, and determinative upon the audience, the opportunity, and other revenue sources that can be derived from speaking. It can go down to zero if it's the right charity or right cause. In fact, usually when I have a paid engagement in person, I will do one in the area for kids, schools, entrepreneurs for free. I do meetups. I just spoke a very high paid gig in Atlanta with John Maxwell, Jesse Itzler, myself. But I did a free meetup with almost as many people showing up for the free meetup as the paid Growth Stack conference in Atlanta. So looking at those things, everyone, when you're offering whatever it is, you should have a perceived value and a bottom line. And determinative upon the audience and the opportunity, my bottom line could be 100,000 or it could be zero, but I'm always willing to walk if you are below my bottom line. And negotiation starts between my perceived value and my bottom line.
Who's your best friend, Dave?
My wife.
Outside of family.
Outside of family, man, I'm blessed. I have a friend named Kenny Isroff that our dads were best friends in Akron, Ohio. His dad died of MS when I was young. His mom died of cancer when he was in his early 20s. Kenny was born 3 months after me in the same hospital that I was born in, actually the same hospital LeBron James and Steph Curry were born in Akron, Ohio. But Kenny and I have lived our journey together. And outside of my family, he is my best friend. Although he looks so much like me, I think his mom cheated with my father, so he might be a half brother, but never admitted.
That's a long friendship. That's awesome.
Yeah,
How'd you meet your wife?
Okay.
How'd you meet your wife, David?
I met her in the 4th grade. So I have lots of friends from elementary school. I met my wife. I moved from Akron, Ohio to San Diego, California. And I actually slept in a windowsill because we had 6 kids. And my wife in the 4th grade, when I moved out there, was skateboarding by my house. She lived up the street from me. And I, for the first time, had butterflies over a girl. And in 6th grade camp, I asked through my best friend in California, Rob Blake, I asked her to go steady with me at 6th grade camp. And she said to him, no, tell him to ask me himself. And so he embarrassed me and screamed out, dude, she said, no way. And so I threw an egg at my wife in the 6th grade, hit her in the head. I picked on her in the 7th grade. Her cousin was one of my best friends. I constantly tried to go out with her in junior high school and high school. She hated me, was terrified by me. Best part of the story, I get engaged. I run into her a couple times in college. When I'm in law school, I run into her. I was the last semester of law school. I just had gotten engaged. I ran into her. Once again, butterflies going, but I'm engaged to another girl. And we have this great conversation. Her mom is dying of cancer. And she goes to see her mom in the hospital, tells her mom she ran into me. Her mom says, isn't that little shit that threw the egg at you? And then she's like, yeah, but he's in law school. And, he's really got a lot going on. I really like him. And she's like, you should go out with him. Yeah, but he has a, fiance. She goes, you should find a boy like that to go out with. She dies. I break up with my fiance. 2 years later, I'm in Mexico, crowded bar, tequilaed up, and somebody pushes me and I bump right into her. And her first thing out of her mouth is, Dave Meltzer, I have a bone to pick with you. Not hi, not hello. I'm like, bone to pick with me? What did I do? She's like, you were mean to me. You threw an egg. I didn't remember any of it. And I'm like, hey. She goes, you used to call me ugly. I'm like, well, you're not ugly. Can I buy you a drink? And from there on, took a few other screw-ups by me, but we started dating and ended up, we're going to be married 25 years this September.
Would have been nice if she egged you in that bar.
She has done way worse to get back at me. Trust me. I think she married me for revenge. So the egg is nothing. I wake up sometimes, have you ever seen the videos where the guy's snoring and the wife like punches him and he wakes up and she pretends to sleep? I swear she's doing shit like that still to me today.
She killing me softly. Is that killing me? So you're a West Coast. You're a big shot, man. You're a mover. You're a shaker. You're like big time sports agent. So what's like one of my favorite shows is Ray Donovan. Does that like exist out there?
I think incidences like that exist. What makes those shows interesting, whether it was Ballers or Ray Donovan, or there was one on ESPN that they kicked off. That was the original, like it was all premier soccer players. I forget the name of that one. It was kind of like the preface to Ballers. It's just an aggregate of multiple incidences that occur, right? Like there's not one person whose whole life does all of those bullshit things. It's just if you aggregated all of the guys who sit in those positions and you took their craziest stories and put them all into one show and then exaggerated them, that's what you would get when you would get Ray Donovan. But there are, strains of truth in the storyline. It's like Law and Order, right? It's not off of real life, but it's off of real life, and it's just exaggerated and made more dramatic. So, it's so interesting. I will tell you, you always test my humility when people are like, "Oh, you're the GOAT, legend, sports this." Look, I've done and have been blessed with a lot of opportunities. Yesterday had to be the biggest accomplishment of my life, and doesn't really have to do with sports agency. I'm the chief chancellor of Junior Achievement University. Junior Achievement was something that I got involved with when I was 10 years old. It's the biggest entrepreneurial organization for children, 15 to 24, 100 million alumni, by the way, worldwide. It's a big deal. We created Junior Achievement University worldwide. I was part of one of the chancellors with, Jack Canfield, Bob Proctor, Deepak Chopra, Sharon Lecter, all these amazing, Brian Tracy, like everyone gave all their content for kids around the world. I became the chief chancellor of all of those amazing world thought leaders and chancellors, which I thought was my greatest accomplishment, coming from a 10-year-old with a single mom, completely broke, a mom who packed my dinner in a paper bag so we would have enough money to eat so she could work her second job filling up turnstiles with greeting cards at convenience stores. Here I was, a chancellor with the biggest thought leaders in the world. Yesterday, I get an email that is pointing out my contribution to Junior Achievement and Junior Achievement University worldwide, because yesterday we were nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. That forget Jerry Maguire, forget the sports agentry, forget the charitable things that I've done in my lifetime. That rocked my effing world. I'm still in shock. I feel like an imposter that I even contributed a tiny bit, let alone being the chief chancellor of something that has been nominated for such an amazing, impactful honor as the Nobel Peace Prize. So, if you're out there and you're young and you've lost everything and you think there's nowhere you can go, no hope, or you haven't even lost everything, you just don't got anything, this is the greatest country in the world. This is the best. It's the only place where you can not only start out with nothing, but you can lose it all and restart out with nothing and become a billionaire or win the Nobel Peace Prize nomination or whatever else you dream of. There's only one country in the world that exists, and it's right here in America.
Gandhi Meltzer.
I'm the ferocious Buddha.
Wow. Okay.
You didn't see that coming, did you?
Are you personally nominated for that, or is it with the group?
No, Junior Achievement Worldwide. So I'm the chief chancellor.
And you're the representative.
Yeah, but I played my small part in that, but to me, to even be a part of it, my organization, the thing that we give so much to, it was beyond my reality. I didn't even know that was possible.
Yeah. So you said, was it nominate? You were nominated, or you guys?
Yeah, we're nominated. We haven't won yet, so we were nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize.
Okay. How many people get nominated?
Good question. I think it varies, kind of like the Baseball Hall of Fame. I think it varies year by year.
Right.
But not many. I mean, it's like the baseball, probably in between the football and the baseball.
Right. So
what do you got going on now?
So, my mission in life is to empower over 1 billion people to be happy. And the way that I'm doing that is through content and coaching. And so, I have a very large coaching community and a very large content community. So podcast, the playbook, I have digital shows that I created for COVID that have turned into really big things like my lives on Instagram and TikTok, but also office hours. Then another show called 2-Minute Drill. I executive produce Elevator Pitch with Entrepreneur. So my 2 TV shows that are mine, 2-Minute Drill and Office Hours, are on Bloomberg and on Apple TV. I just created a content deal, an OTT deal with Apple TV. Martha Stewart and myself have deals to create content for Apple TV, entrepreneurial content. So not only will my shows be there, but I'll be taking entrepreneurs like you guys and developing content to put up on Apple TV as well.
Nice. Who's on your team, David? You got to have a squad.
So I'm very, very slim. We have about 20 people full time on my team. We have a lot of part-time people and hundreds of outsourced. So because we're a content company, I outsource all the production team for all the TV shows are outsourced, all the content that I do, the graphics, the captions. And so I just have team leaders that lead a bunch of outsourced or part-time employees. I do have a great extern and internship program, which is carried through my free trainings that I've given for over 22 years. So, we have quite a big crew, but there's 20 full-time people. I have a saying, if you don't like somebody, the best way you can fool them is to congratulate them and wish them very well, pray for their happiness, and a lot of employees and overhead. And they'll think you're complimenting them and that you love them, but you have cursed them with a lot of employees and a big overhead.
All right.
Is that are you talking about yourself there?
I've been punished. Yeah. So I try to keep things very narrow when it comes to employees and overhead.
Lean.
Do you feel like having that team is getting you where you want to go faster?
So it's interesting because I love the term faster. I have an interesting relationship with speed. Too many people utilize the man-made construct of time in order to effectuate their success. So they'll put a timeline on when to raise money, how much money they should have earned by a certain amount of time. But I love that you put that, are we moving fast enough? Yes, I work within the guise of I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be at the right place at the perfect time. And I'm trying to double the amount of money I can as fast as I can, aligned with the what, the who, the how, the now, and that applying of why. So for me, enjoying the consistent, persistent pursuit of the potential of how quickly I can get things done is far more important than, being $1 billion company by the end of the year. I understand compound interest, aggregated results. I live by Einstein in not only the aggregation or compound interest of money, which is my strategy of keeping money, by utilizing no risk investments that aggregate upon themselves at higher rates of interest and compounded faster time, but more importantly, good habits. So, I've worked very hard to create a habit machine to allow people to aggregate their good habits, which are very hard to aggregate, just like money, because everybody thinks that if you do the right thing, you'll see the result quicker than if you do the wrong thing. No, the results take time. They aggregate and compound on themselves. So if you do the right things, most people quit because they get impatient because they think the good results are coming faster. And if you're doing the wrong things, we don't see a result, so we don't think it's having any impact or effect on us. And that's why so many people aggregate the wrong types of behaviors, the wrong type of habits, is because of aggregation and compound interest. And money's the classic example of that. People think that if they save their money, that it's going to double, in a short amount of time. No, it's math. And if you go ahead and utilize the same emotional strategy I do, which is focus in on making money and aggregating and compounding the money you've made, you're going to do very, very well in the long run, just like utilizing good habits in the same direction.
So do you invest in other businesses or do you take on investors inside of yours?
I do not take on any investors in my business. I invest in multiple businesses. I usually sit on as an advisor, a board of advisors. I make either a symbolic investment with a huge discount, which is one of my investment strategies, and then bring in other people's money to join me. Or I go ahead and I'm an LP in a variety of different funds. I'll go ahead and introduce an opportunity into a fund that I'm a part of, allow them to go ahead and vet it, take all the time to figure out whether or not the group wants to invest in that. But I'm involved in multiple investments personally and my funds, especially, and my TV shows, right? So, I have 2 shows, one elevator pitch where I'm executive producer of that actually funds companies, and then 2-Minute Drill, which gives $50,000 of cash and prizes for just the pitch, which I enjoy 2-Minute Drill, which is why I created it, way better because it's much more valuable to people, because what we teach on 2-minute drill is actually stuff you could use in real life. But Shark Tank's Dragon Den and elevator pitch, you're not going to get funded the way that you get funded on a TV show. 100% of the time, it ain't happening. But 100% of the time, you can see and get good advice on a pitch by watching a 2-minute pitch and getting experts to give you their opinion of what the pitch was like or what they should or shouldn't do.
Okay.
You got any investments that are you believe that are like the future? Like, what do you think future investments are? Like, obviously, the internet was the big one of the 90s. So talk to us about what you're seeing out there, because you're out in the West Coast where everything happens first.
I'm blessed. Years ago, my son told me about esports. So Meta World Peace, Marcus Colston, in the weekend, we founded as investors a company called Splice. We bought the Toronto franchise in esports, and that became Overactive Media. We're building an arena in Toronto. Went from a $16 million valuation when I invested in it, and told my wife that we were going to lose all our money, but it was a great marketing and relationship opportunity for me, to being, a huge valuation in a huge company. I'm on the NFT space, investing in a variety of different companies, but Creatify is one that I really like. I'm a picks and shovels guy. So it's a platform that helps the masses create an NFT, market and distribute the NFT itself. So I like that platform. Turncoin is one I have with Drew Brees and Patrick Mahomes. Also, Everbull, which is a franchise that I have. My favorite investment, which is new, is something called Black Box VR. And Ryan DeLuca, who he exited for almost $1 billion in bodybuilder.com, he's put his own money in developing a black box that is a VR integrated with a true universal hardware, high-end workout machine that is already at EOS's, putting into a lot of the big gyms. But this thing's incredible. They've gamified working out to such a level that you would pay to work out. It's so much fun. So you put on these VR glasses, and he has orchestrated this machine. You don't even feel like you're using a machine, but you're in this arena that's 10 times the size of crypto.com arena. And then a monster comes up, and you get to pick what you want to work out, right? So, you're doing shoulders, and this is how you shoot. You're just shooting, and you don't even feel like to exhaustion, right? You've done like 100 reps, and it's 30 minutes of workout. You finish, and you literally have burnt like 1,000 calories. You're drenched, but you don't feel like you worked out. You just felt like you were in this amazing game that you've never experienced before. So Black Box VR is my newest and biggest investment. And the reason it's a great investment is I have an entrepreneur that put millions of dollars in, that has had a multi-million, if almost billion-dollar exit himself. He already has revenue. He has technology that far surpasses anybody else in a huge market and audience that's on the upside, right? It's a business that's doing well, and it's one that can, also be utilized if there's another pandemic or separation, because it's its own unit, a black box that's completely separate from anybody else.
Interesting.
Think anything's kind of like .com, like everything with .com was supposed to be super valuable, like. Because a lot of people investing nowadays don't remember life before the internet, where everything .com was supposed to be to the moon. So like
everything NFT, right? I mean, look, I've been in collectibles forever. So NFTs, the reason NFTs and blockchain are going to be successful, what you want to look for is markets, market makers, and margins, which are created by two things in NFTs: fractionalized ownership and the authentication process that's utilized in NFTs. There's no difference, except for it's easier to create an NFT between a collectible NFT and a collectible baseball card. Not every baseball card is valuable, right? But there are still today very valuable baseball cards. Well, NFTs are even more challenging because not every NFT is valuable. And two, it's a lot easier to create an NFT than it ever was to create your own baseball card and distribute it. So NFTs for sure, there's going to be huge losers in it. There's already huge losers, in crypto, and there will be. That doesn't mean that these technologies, right, and these platforms are going anyway. There's going to be some big winners, just like, believe it or not, there's some big .com winners today, but there's a lot more losers. It's like the losers that bought AMC because they read it on Reddit or Robinhood that, you know, the movie theater is going to go to 5,000, right? And meanwhile, 90% of the people bought AMC above 60, right? They blew up their accounts, have gone broke because they believe people that don't know what they're talking about. You need to find someone in the situation that you want to be in and ask them for directions. And you can do that. So there's going to be a lot, even in real estate today, you know, there's a lot of Airbnb and VRBO opportunities that are going to blow up on people. And there's going to be a lot of big winners as well. You want to make sure that you're finding the person who sits in the situation that can give you the right advice and directions. Don't believe the emotional hype on any of this.
Andrew, remember Netscape?
Yes.
I use Netscape.
Exactly. No one knows what Netscape is.
Exactly.
How
about Webvan, right? Paul Allen, I invested so much money into Webvan, you know, delivering groceries way back then, in perishable groceries with gas prices. Over $1 billion valuation gone in a week.
Yeah. It's not a new concept.
Nope.
Just a little before the times.
You got it.
Andrew, you got anything? I know we're wrapping up here pretty soon.
Yeah, what's you're a mover and shaker, Dave. So what you travel a lot. What's your favorite place to travel to?
Bora Bora. You know, I just Bora Bora is amazing. British Virgin Islands. I like Greece. And those are more for holiday with the kids. For business, it's a whole different thing. I love to travel for business to New York. I love to do business in London. I love Hong Kong. I used to love, you know, China, but that got really difficult. But, you know, places like New York, London, Hong Kong, there's so much business for someone that is consistent and persistent in the pursuit of creating abundance. There's so many relationships and powerful people. When you know how to do business, it's better to have as many zeros on the back end of the business you're doing. Meaning, you know, when I was starting out, I do deals for 30,000 and I thought that was big. And then it moved to 300,000 and then I got to 3 million. And then, you know, at Leigh's, it got to $30 million contracts. And then I got into a stadium deal and all of a sudden it was 3 billion, you know, and I'm like, hey, the same exact skills and knowledge at 30,000 are utilized at 3 billion. I'd much rather be playing with people that actually play with 3 billion than 30,000. So Hong Kong, New York, and UK, that's where those people that have those many zeros in the games that they're playing, those are the games I want to be in.
You're going to New York. Who do you go see first?
Matt Higgins at RSC Ventures, Gary Vaynerchuk right down the street next. And then Alex Machinsky would be third, CEO of Celsius Network. So Higgins we co-mentor each other, but just, you know, someone relationship capital knowledge wise. Gary helping me on the social media side since I started. And then Alex Machinsky's, I think, the greatest entrepreneur today, will make the biggest change. Everybody will know that name because of what he's doing with Celsius Network.
What's that? What is
it's the fastest bank to $30 billion. It's the first unbank. So he's taken all the manipulation of banks, of back end manipulation. You know, banks have been making money for years and paying no interest to the people because interest rates are low. So basically, banks on average make about 16%. He's running his bank and utilizing crypto as well, and stablecoin, Tether, all the basics. But he's taking the 16% that his bank makes, and he's giving 10% to you for putting your money in the bank and keeping only 6%. And he has, you know, no shareholders or bonuses in the billions. He put $150 million of his own money into the bank. The bank is the fastest bank to 30 billion with the B. He created voice over IP. This is the third unicorn the man's done. And his wife also hugely successful with Freedom. And so Chrissy Machinsky, that's going to be the power couple. Just mark my words, 3 years from now, you guys will know Alex Machinsky the way you know Elon Musk.
Alex Machinsky?
You got it.
Okay. Celsius Network.
With a C. Yeah, Celsius Network.
Okay. Is that gonna would that affect Bitcoin at all? Is that because no?
It's a bank. It's a bank. So he just is using Bitcoin. You can borrow against it. He's just doing exactly what Bank of America is, but he's paid more interest back to the depositor.
So we're getting Bank of America, we get 30 cents back or $1 back.
I think you get 0.003% on your money or something ridiculous, less than 1%.
How's he giving 10% back? What is he doing with the money?
Same investments that a normal bank's doing, except for he's giving the majority of what profits the bank is making back to the depositor.
Is that guaranteed? Is that a fixed?
Yeah, it's a fixed rate,
and
just like a bank.
10.
It's SEC. It's a bank, so so I only buy stable coin. You can use your Bitcoin if you want, but you'll get the wins and losses on your Bitcoin. He doesn't take any stake in that. So whatever your balance is, he's paying you interest on what your Bitcoin balance is. I buy stable coin, which is dollar to dollar, so I don't have any risk of it going up or down. So if I put $1 million of stable coin in Celsius Bank, not only does he pay me 10% a year, right, which is a good return, but it's more than that because he pays the interest every Monday. So my interest payments are getting interest because he's paying interest every Monday automatically. So very easy, simple. It's going to be the democratization of banking, and he's at the forefront of it. The man took on the carriers. When I was at Samsung running the phone division, he created voice over IP. Everybody thought he was crazy. And he told people, look, you could talk to China for free using voice over IP. This is going to change the world. People laughed at him, scoffed at him until he became a billionaire. And now he's taking on the banks the same way.
Have you used Voxer?
Yeah, I have.
That's pretty cool.
Yep, very cool.
So it sounds like I need to sign up with Celsius, right? I mean,
I'm a big proponent of it. I'm a very low.
Why wouldn't you just put your people have their 6 month savings, a year savings in their account, right? Why wouldn't that just? It's
completely liquid, so it's not a matter of I can't get it out. It's SEC regulated. It's guaranteed the same as a bank. It's democratizing banking. It's exactly what we're doing with many technologies. Is we're not allowing people to charge fees and like all the different brokerages and things that they've been doing to us for years in manipulating the common man. And you can do it for as little as $100. So you don't have to put $1 million in like I do, right? You just put $100 in. Check it out.
So, okay, yeah, I will.
Cool.
Yeah, I had something, but I can't remember. What's your favorite childhood memory?
My favorite childhood memory, probably is a sports related memory. When I was 7 years old, I played in the Super Q, which was the Pop Warner Championship game, and I was starting running back, and that was like the ultimate to me. I thought for sure when we won that championship, and I don't know how many yards I had, but I had several touchdowns. I thought for sure, I was going to be the next great Jim Brown, the greatest running back to ever come out of Ohio. So, I have so many great childhood memories with my family. It's really hard to choose, but it definitely is a sports related one when I was under 10. Only because, the reality of the lack of skills and knowledge that I had in my sports career was not apparent. So, I still had the hopes and dreams of being the greatest in the world at being a football player. So it had to relate around that.
They let you play. How big are you? You're not.
I played college football. I was 5'7". I got there. I was 147 pounds. I left at 185. I will tell you, I was an average Division III football player, but yet the lessons that I learned about myself to get to that level and to play at that level and to compete at that level absolutely taught me more about my life, and I've gone back to what I learned there to make it to where I am today.
Sounds like you attribute a lot to work ethic.
Yeah,
So
consistency. Yeah,
being consistent. Yeah.
yeah, consistency is work ethic, right? So I don't believe in work. I believe in activity I get paid for and activity I don't. So I believe my superpower is I'm one of the most consistent people that you'll meet. I show up every single day and I enjoy it. And where other people probably couldn't stand what I do and they think of it as, some sort of negative existence. But for me, I just love being the best I can, learning lessons and having fun every day. And if it's doing these interviews, it's doing these interviews. If it's, showing up, I don't care. It's just who I am.
Yeah. So what, in one word, Gandhi, what's the meaning? And you can't use peace now, but what's the key to success, or what's the key to life? Or kindness. One for each.
Kindness,
Okay.
is the key. If I don't think people realize, I tell them all the time, if you're feeling lonely, depressed, anxious, frustrated, or guilty, resentful, or offended, go do something for someone else. It's amazing. Gratitude and kindness are so simple. They're free. And even your biochemistry is indicative of how truthful and how powerful it is. When you're kind, or you're giving, or you're gracious, you get a dose from God. You get dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. It makes you feel happy. If you're a shitty person and you do shitty things, cortisol is released from God. Cortisol causes inflammation, irritation, and interference. You feel shitty. So if you want to get some sign from God that you're doing the right thing, go to your biochemistry and figure out, what am I doing to create dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins, or go to your self and ask, why am I feeling cortisol into my system by eating the wrong things, doing the wrong things, exercising the wrong way, whatever it may be. Cortisol will be created. Cortisol will create inflammation, interference, and disease. Or you can have dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphin, and create ease. You're either at ease or you're at dis-ease. It's really simple in my life.
What time do you wake up? Same time every day, consistently?
I do wake up almost the same time every day, but the reason is different than most people think. The most important thing I do is I have a philosophy. My tomorrow starts today. So I have an unwinding routine at 9 p.m. to put my body, mind, and soul in a position of recovery and access. And so by having that unwinding routine with no negative energy, alcohol, caffeine, drugs, no negative ideas, podcasts, TV shows, or conversations, I have over 16 years now put myself into a disciplined practice that allows me to wake up at a new plateau, a higher self, at 4 a.m. Pacific time. So 7 a.m. Eastern time, or I'll shave an hour off to 9 a.m. UK time. I have a sleep coach. I believe everyone should have a mentor, as I suggested earlier. So my longest mentor I've had is a sleep mentor. I travel 200 days a year, who helps me to understand this unwinding routine, how I utilize food, light, temperature, all of these different things besides negative energy in order to effectuate a quicker recovery, a better recovery, and access to the omniscient, all-powerful, all-knowing source, so that when I wake up, I'm not living my life like a tube, food in, food out. Not almost everyone on earth, it drives me nuts. They go to bed at night to go to sleep. They wake up more tired than when they go to bed. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't live that myth, man. I live in a plateau and grow world. I'm expanding, growing, accelerating because I have an unwinding routine and a sleep coach.
So do you focus on like the temperature in the room, the air
degrees.
quality? What's
67 degrees, no ambient light, no ambient sound. And food varies depending on travel, like when to eat, but very strict on light, temperature, according to your own. Like, I've been tested what your sleep cycle is from low to deep to REM to deep to light sleep. It's cycles that are important, and you want to complete a cycle. So you could sleep longer than me, but wake up on your fifth, like you could have 5 sleep cycles, which could take you 10 hours or even 12 hours. But if you wake up in the middle of your 5th cycle, and I only have 2 cycles, but I wake up at the end of the cycle when I'm supposed to, I'll be better recovered than you will be.
Do you use the Whoop? Have you heard of this?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I've used the Whoop. I've used, my own Fitbit, but yes, I am in circadian rhythms. I analyze my sleep. That data is fed to my sleep coach. So I know that I'm exactly an hour and 32 minutes a cycle where I need to be. So at minimum, I get 2 cycles. I can get up to 4 cycles of sleep, determinative upon the output of energy in my travel schedule, et cetera, of what I'm doing during the day determines how many cycles. So I know when I'm in my unwinding routine, how many cycles that I'm going to have for the next night.
Nice.
Josh loves to ask if you got any dad jokes. Any jokes? Dad jokes?
My dad jokes. Wow. No one's ever asked me for a dad. I'm sure I have tons of dad jokes. My dad was the king of jokes. My dad was a joke for me. My dad was a sad joke. I loved him though. I can't remember one dad joke. So I know my favorite joke is a clean joke. Not everybody gets it at first, but I just love it. And it goes like this. A horse walks into a bar and the bartender says, "Why the long face?" That's good humor.
That's a good dad joke.
It is a dad joke. All right. Awesome, guys.
Yeah, David, thanks for hopping on, man. We covered a lot of cool stuff. Talked about investing, broken. You shared what you got going on. Obviously, you're big on Instagram, TikTok. You hang out with like Gary Vee, all the major players. So it's exciting times, man.
Reach out to me, everyone. If you want my book or a 14-day gratitude challenge or anything I can do with service, please reach out directly to me, david@dmeltzer.com. Best piece of advice, be kind to your future self and do good deeds. Life's that simple.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for wrapping that up.